You're listening to Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec. I'm Kurt Hendel, a battle tested security architect with a zero trust worldview, coming at you from the future with the magic of editing to give our past episodes a proper introduction. And with me, as always, is my friend Cameron Walters, the AppSec and DevSecOps builder trying to automate the world. We turn real world security chaos into conversations that actually matter. So grab your coffee. Let's travel back in time to the original recording. Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec starts now. Cameron, we're back.
We're
What's
live.
going
We're
on?
here. We
We're
made it.
back. We're doing it
We're
again.
getting better at this each week. It's
It's
crazy.
fun. I know I was telling you this before, but I was thinking about this about 10 minutes ago before I got on here about how excited I was. Today's been an interesting day at work, and I was standing there thinking, it's time to talk to my buddy Cameron about security and all the stuff we love and what we do. So I got excited, and now here we are. It's time for chaos.
True, true. I know every week this is becoming more and more part of my life and schedule in the sense that I get hyped about it, I get excited, I start researching more and more. And I think each week I dive more into research, more into understanding and making sure I'm coming more and more and more and more prepared because I don't know, it's fun learning. I think me and you both have that passion for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why we do this, right? To spread the passion, to spread the knowledge, and let other people know. But before we dive into more, kick us off. What are we talking about today, Kurt?
We are talking about trends shaping the future of ProdSec or product security. I know you called it crystal balling. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'll pretend.
True,
So,
true. But welcome all listeners to Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec. This is our fourth episode.
number 4.
Yeah, so crystal ball, trending, trends shaping future ProdSec. Tongue tied right now, I guess.
What you get for being off work all week playing games, man.
It's been a good time. I've been not sleeping, playing lots of video games, starting to get sleep again and feel back to normal and get back into the routine. But I am excited when this ends. I'll be able to go back to blasting and hanging out with buddies and playing Diablo 4.
Nice. I have not been playing games the same way you have, although I'm a little jealous. So one of these days I will jam with you. But for now, we're going to create some chaos with our coffee and talk about product security.
Yeah. Well, what
You got
coffee
your
you
coffee
drinking?
ready?
I do. I have a new cup because I had to pick a new one so you wouldn't
Oh,
give me any,
you're not captain today.
I'm not captain, but it says caffeine on it. And then it's our normal cold brew that we make each week. The difference is my wife made a new, what is it, a fall pumpkin spice syrup. And this one, I told her to put more oomph in it. And I'll
Ooh.
tell you one thing, it is got some spice to it. It's delicious.
I mean, it's got the color too, man. That looks orange.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
You can't see mine, but I changed it up. So I brought code cold brew this week in the usual like bulletproof
Oh,
looking cup. And it's this brand that my wife, I think her friend found it for us. It's Stoke, STOK. And there's a bunch of them, but the one with the orange label, slightly sweet, put a little bit of cream in there and it's like, man, it's just good. It's like dessert, but it's not. And it
makes
gets you
sense.
all amped up.
Yeah.
It's all my favorite things in a cup.
Fair enough. All right. And then, being a parent, you need that caffeine to keep you going, especially with work, You're not a kid
This
anymore
is
where her endless energy is there.
Yeah, lucky for me, she's at daycare right now, but I've had a whole week with her, just me and her, because my wife travels for work, and I'm on my third cup of coffee. This is number 3 today.
Hey.
So if I start getting a little crazy halfway through this, you'll know why.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So where do we want to kind of jump into, right? It's all this whole thing is just about, what do we foresee, what trends, what changes. I have a thing I want to start on, and we got our sweet long agenda.
Yeah, we always come with notes and come prepared. I think the trends are changing, right? 2025 has been a crazy year
Yep.
of changes in the world of product security. So I'm going to let you pick this one. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. So I've been thinking so much about this, and it's leading into this weekend. I'm also meeting with a bunch of ACC from the local college and nearby with ACC cybersecurity students, and I've been thinking about like advice I would give them, and that's been making me really think about like my journey as well as the future journey that a lot of ProdSec or AppSec or DevSecOps security engineers, security architects, the challenges they're going to have. But everything usually translates back into what we call the CIA triad, right? Confidentiality,
Yeah.
integrity, and availability. But based, I would say, like that's one pillar or maybe the core pillar. But you talk to anybody in cybersecurity and they know what OS top 10 is, right?
Yep.
What is the OS top 10, Kurt?
Well, I mean, OWASP has gotten big. So the top 10 are the top 10 vulnerabilities, and these are trends themselves, right? I think the last version was published in 2021.
Yep,
And I mean, I could not rattle off the top 10. If you quiz me right now, I will admittedly fail because I don't study it and memorize it. I just say, "Hey, Cameron, fix it for me." No,
that's fair.
I go look it up. I read it, but I'm not like I can't memorize stuff anymore. The brain is full, man.
Yeah.
So top 10 vulnerabilities. Think like broken access control, cross-site scripting. What's the other one? CSRF, cross-site request forgery. Is that still on there?
It is still on there. No, sorry, server side request for a CSRF.
All right, fine.
But it's interesting what you're saying there because OWASP is a community-driven nonprofit that focuses on cybersecurity and being a vocal advocate. And you brought up an interesting point that I think is a point of contention around the OWASP top 10. And so for again, repeat, OWASP top 10 top vulnerabilities. That's what
Hey,
it
hot
used to be.
take.
That's what it used to be, right? Literally, that's what it used to be. When it first came out, it was like literally, cross-site scripting, which is a common one,
Yeah,
or, command injection, or CSRF, or, it was very specific ones. And I feel like in 2022, there was a major shift, right? That major shift from being more specific attack vectors to categories, which for me as a cybersecurity individual, and I don't know if you feel the same way, it's a different mentality because now we're not talking about top 10 attack vectors that I have to secure against, right? It's not very pinpointed. It's so much broader. And with those broader strokes, do you think, I mean, I'll go with my opinion, but I want to see your opinion first. Do you think the OS top 10 has devaluated itself or, oh, looks like we're having some technical difficulties. And we're back again. All right. So, Kurt, you wanna tell us what happened?
yeah. So my internet just got upgraded 2 hours earlier than it was supposed to. But instead of rocking a 1 gigabit connection, now I have a 2 gigabit connection.
Mm,
It's great. The thing I still have to change the configuration, but you know what? We're here. I'll deal with that later because the internet works.
fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
Sorry for the interruption,
Yeah.
but here we
So
are. A little bit. What would it be without chaos? Come on now.
that's
It's
fair.
in the
You brought
name.
in a significant amount of chaos here. So for everybody listening, I'm gonna do some special editing after this to fix that up and snip it together. But I'm gonna keep in the fun, the chaos. But where we left off, which might be a repeat in the cut. I don't know. We'll see when I get to it. The question I was prompting to you, right, which is kind of a hot take, and I have my own hot take on it, is
Get both then.
around. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna get both, of course. What? Of course. Is that the OS Top 10 originally, when it first started out, was a category of specific vulnerabilities, right? So the OS Top 10 would, during the survey period, it would message a bunch of companies, different things, and everyone would report to them saying, "Hey, these are the top vulnerabilities we saw in X, amount of years or whatever the time range." And they have this whole form and thing, and that it collect all that data, and then they say, okay, here's the top 10 vulnerabilities, focus on these. And it was really good because it really pinpointed, and like people primarily focused on those vulnerabilities. But now, today, at least the 2021 is much more category driven. So my question to you, Kurt, is Is it good that they move to more of a category driven, right? If you look at the 2021, it's all categories except number 10, which is the community voted one, which is SSRF, which is server side request forgery. Is it good that we've switched this model?
I think so, because at the end of the day, I mean, each of these categories has so many vulnerabilities in them these days. Like, there's new ones coming out every day, right? So, like, if you just pick 10 vulnerabilities, like, I'm sorry, you're doing it wrong in 2025, because the last graph I saw, like, there are how many tens of thousands of vulnerabilities out in the wild, and the ones being exploited can be any number of these categories or something outside of it, right? So categories make more sense now because we're just seeing so much of it,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it changes over time. So like you can't have static vulnerabilities. What happens when the one gets fixed?
It's true, but I mean, again, it's called the OS Top 10. It's not called the OS Top 10 categories,
That's true. But
right?
what would
It's
it like? What are you going to change the name to? Like, oh, that's top 10. Just everyone knows what that means.
I'm that no, they don't. When they made this change,
Well, they should.
I like with my team, we sat and debated it for a while. I was like shocked that they did this, right? Everyone always knew, right? That like you're supposed to do the top 10, but as a AppSec individual, cybersecurity individual, we always said like, oh, it's top 10 is like the low bar, right? You do that
Yeah,
so you're meeting the most common attack vectors they're seeing, right? So that gets you part way. That was the goal. That was the reason they stood this up was that you're focusing on the vulnerabilities that the world is seeing, but now it's
right.
entire categories. What's the value in that, right? I already know I need to fix vulnerabilities. You and me know
Yeah,
that. We have to reduce our risk. We have to do that. So how does the OS top 10, now that it's category driven, help that?
prioritization. I mean, that's at the end of the day, it all comes down to
But
prioritization. Like,
you can't say that. You can't say
well,
prioritization
you let
because
me finish.
no, because you can't say that. That's you can't. How can the OS top 10 tell you what your prioritization is?
Well, it's the top 10 things that are being exploited, right? So if it's a category and I've got six of these in my environment, I mean, is it in priority order, or is it just say go fix all of them?
Yeah, but what if you have injection, right? You have command injection or injection, right? Right, XSS injection, but your app lives behind a firewall, it's not on the internet. Your
See, now
priority
you're getting into
judgment
the
falls apart.
complexities. You're getting into the complexities of vulnerability management, man. Like it's hard. This is what we've been dealing with for years and years and years. So it's saying like this vulnerability is important. You're like, well, is it? Because nothing I have is on the internet. So who's going to attack it?
Yeah,
Cameron? Yeah,
it's
probably because he's on the inside.
true. But that's what I'm saying. Is like why if it's a category, it doesn't it frustrates me, right?
I,
I
I
mean,
can
I
see it both ways.
part of me
Open
wants a
minded,
giant
man.
list. I do like categories because categories help, right? They make
Yeah.
you, it leads more credence, right? So when I'm talking with the developers or, it gives security teams much more of a, I'd say, a foothold to say, hey, these vulnerabilities have to be fixed, and it falls under the OS top category. Guess what? We have 18 compliance frameworks that we adhere to, and guess what? All of them say we mitigate vulnerabilities in the OS top 10, right?
Yeah. Broader reach.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
You
I
fix
guess.
more vulnerabilities, because if it was just 10 vulnerabilities, the devs are gonna be like, I ain't fixing anything other than those 10, man. I don't have
Hey,
to fix any others.
I've heard horror stories of that. Working, I've talked to people where they're like, "Yeah, my devs only fix what is in those top 10. If it's not in those top 10, I'm gonna have to fight tooth and nail for them to fix any of those vulnerabilities." And they were stoked when the 2021 came out. It was a lot easier.
Yeah.
They gained a whole bunch
Yeah.
more weight. Developers were not happy.
Yeah. Well, if again, like developers are generally under a lot of pressure. I think we talked about this last time even of
Yep.
they're always facing deadlines. They've always got 9,000 tickets in their backlog that they need to work on, and it's like get it done 4 days ago, dude. Like what are you doing all day?
Yep.
And
And
so
do it
it's
securely.
right. Like do it securely when security is not your day job, right? So I mean, this is why you and I have jobs to guide people who are not experts in security to do security.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just like you can snap your fingers and everything is secure. It's hard. That's why it's a profession. That's why we can sit here and talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, I mean, like, for me, one of the cons that I think about the OS Hot 10, besides it being categories, is that it's updated every 3 to 4 years, right? Think about what's happened in last year. You led into this saying that it's been a crazy year, 2025, with
Yeah.
massive changes, right? I'm so stoked that it's changing this year and not last year, right?
Yeah.
Because
I
we're
think
gonna see.
it's a happy coincidence.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's really good, but 2 to 3 years in this kind of changing and evolving landscape where everything's, like we're in like this weird, it used to be like this, slow tumble of change. Right now, I mean, we're at this cusp of like something we've never seen, where so much change in the landscape and securing environments has changed so much. Do they need to change it to maybe 2 to 3 years instead of 3 to 4?
I mean, I guess it depends, right? Like, is there a world where this changes every year? I mean, security is changing faster than it ever has. And I'm not going to say it's just because of AI. It's not. But AI it's all the rage. Everyone's using it. It's a big bang. So it's got everyone running scared or nervous or happy, whatever. It depends on what camp you fall in. Things are moving faster. I mean, when the cloud came out, it was the same thing. And I think I've said this before too. What's happening with AI is essentially what happened with the cloud when it went mainstream, right? So different flavor, same problem. How do you secure it? Security is playing catch up again. So it's changing. We're seeing supply chain attacks. That's a new attack vector from the last 2 to 3
Whoa, whoa,
years.
whoa! You're jumping ahead in the thing. All right, let's
I'm
go
not
into
saying we
that.
have to go there yet. But the point I'm trying to make is look, stuff 2025 and even let's bleed back into 2024. It's changing faster. So should we be doing things every 3 to 4 years? Absolutely not. I think we should be doing it every 1 to 2 years. And I know I'm going to get hot takes on that. It's community supported, it's hard, but I mean that means we have an army. So how do we get together as a community and do it justice? That's kind of a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, it's always hard finding people to meet and to sync and then sift through that data. They'd have to build a
Yeah.
really, robust way to manage that. I mean, I'm part of an OWASP project, and I've had our what is it, community feedback open for a year now. And last I checked, not a single person has commented on it, right?
Wow.
So
That's surprising
it is
considering what
surprising.
you guys are up to with the pipelines.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that we're just not advocating it enough, right? Or XYZ, it could be us, and I think part of it is definitely us. But what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of people don't have that much time. We all have lives, right?
Busy,
So
yeah.
yeah, I think 1 to 2 years is a little extreme. 2 years, I think every 2 years makes a little more sense, especially with how much change we're seeing. Because if you do it
Yeah,
every 1 year, I think the novelty of it, right? When this drops, I don't know how it feels for you, but when this drops for me, it's an event, right? Like my
yeah,
team, we're
that's
gonna get
true.
together, we analyze it, I read it, I go through articles, I read, understand the complexity. I start reaching out to my vendors, talk to every single vendor, and be like, hey, when are you picking
Yeah,
this up, right? Because every tool I think I don't know how much you have to deal with this, but for AppSec teams and my team, compliance frameworks, I've been out this whole week, and I've already perused my emails, and there's a bunch of stuff in there being like, hey, Cameron, can you help me show evidence for this or that? And it's all just OS top 10 in this, OS top 10 in this, OS top 10 that, right?
yeah,
And so now I'm gonna have to show that, and now I guarantee all the frameworks are gonna be like, hey, are you using the latest one model, right? Are all my vendors using it? All my tooling using that? Hmm.
yeah. I'm gonna argue against myself now because, like, just playing this out, right? If you do it every year, you're gonna be doing nothing but adapting constantly, right? Like, at
Hmm.
what point do you have time to actually go address things if it's coming out every year? So you have no time to adjust and adapt. So every 2 years allows you to do a bit of that and also keep pace. So maybe 2 to 3 years is that happy medium. But if we go another 4 years, like, I think that's too slow.
Yeah, I think it's too slow. I think like 2 to 3 years is what they have to do, leaning more towards 2 years. Maybe, saying 2 to 3 years so that the years are slow, like there's not much change happening or as crazy change, right? They can pivot to a three
Yeah.
year cycle on that one and then maybe a 2 year cycle if they need to. But this 3 to 4, especially this one's 4 years. It feels too slow with how much the threat landscape has changed, which leads me into it, right? I put my list together of what I think is going to change and what's going to be in the 2025 changes. Do you have any like what's your number one change if you could pick a category or attack vector?
I mean, I've been on this kind of crusade lately, just given what I've been seeing and what I've been doing. I think the identity aspects or that category is going to stay. Like, there's
Mm.
no buts about it that identity is going to remain in there, whether it's identification, authentication,
Do you think
failures,
it'll go up?
or broken access control. Those two kind of go hand in hand. I mean, that's a massive concern in the for me at least, because every time I do a review or my team does a review, uh, we look at access control mechanisms and people kind of still avoid investing time there. Or if you're building a service in the cloud, it has to have permissions, whether it's a role or a user, whatever it is. Everyone just stars everything, wildcards everywhere. So it just has all this access it doesn't need. What happened to least privilege, man? It's like one of the biggest things we talk about in security for the past 30 plus years is least privilege. I haven't even been in the workforce that long, and it's as old as I am, if not older. And
Onto the win.
just no one's fixing it, man. Like, we're trying, but it's hard because it's time consuming. But now, like, technology is evolving in this space yet again. I've been talking to vendors, I've been reviewing solutions. It's all getting better to the point that, yeah, identity is going to a place like the Okta conference. Octane has been happening the last 2 days. I've kind of had one eye on it, and they're talking about some really cool stuff. So being able to manage identities, is there a future where we can do it well? I think so, but is it is it today? I think it's highly dependent on the organization and what they've invested in, and so I think it'll still remain in the top 10.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Do you think it'll go up though or down?
Honestly, I'm gonna say it's gonna go up.
I think it'll go down.
Why?
I think it'll go down because there's so many other attack vectors that are happening today in the threat landscape, right? Like, I think identity is a major problem. I do think it'll stay too. I'm wondering if the name change will be different. They'll call it some kind of other thing,
Yeah,
like personnel identifiers or I don't know, something. They'll call it something or they'll keep it the same. I don't mind either way, but I think it'll go down because I think there's so many other attack vectors that are plaguing because of kind of the threat landscape that's happening right now with AI, with the explosion of code, the explosion of all this innovation that is happening. Um, I think people don't realize, and this is something me and you are working on right now, is that identities are just as important in AI as it is in any other thing. And I think people are not
that's why I said
understanding
it.
that. I know. I knew where you're going with it, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think people are thinking about that from right now. They're just so focused on how explosive the code is generating, right? Being like,
Yeah,
oh, dude, I just wrote this sweet, feature. It's 10,000 lines of code. And then, you talk to a senior dev and they're like, dude, I could have wrote that in 1,000. What did your thing write? But maybe some people aren't looking at that it's 10,000 lines because the feature is delivered, right? But now you
yeah.
have all these vulnerabilities and you're not even thinking about AI, the identity aspect of it. You're just thinking about, oh, we got to fix all these
Get
vulnerabilities that
it
are in there,
done, right.
right? So then identity is going to be this like hidden shadow thing that's there. But I still think it'll go down because of that perspective that there's so many other problems that identity is going to be overshadowed.
That's fair. But I mean, like, AI is probably going to be on the list in some form or another. But AI has its own OWASP thing now. Like, come on.
It's true.
There's a top 10 for LLMs already. That was like 2023. That's old news at this point.
Yeah, but there's a lot of OS top tens now. So for our
Yeah.
listeners, you can go look. There's OS top 10. in general. There's API, there's pipeline, right? My SPVS is supposed to mirror that. We're making sure all of the top 10 pipeline are there. There's I think you already said the AI one.
Yeah.
And I also think there's an open source one. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure there's an OS top 10 like open source too. So there's just more and more top 10s. Is the top, is top 10 supposed to also summarize the other top 10s? Like have a category for each one of those? That would be an interesting thing.
It's gonna have the top 10, and then there's like a top 10 for each category. It's like, how
Yeah.
far does that tree go?
Forever. Forever.
It's just gonna turn into a mountain of vulnerabilities, and you just can't win, man.
Yeah, true, true. So if I had to pick one that I think is going to either, I'd say, become a new category, I I mean, I'm expecting, something around AI, right? I'm expecting some kind of thing that'll mention AI. I just think it has to be there. To what specific vector? I don't know, because I'm looking at the top 10 right now that's currently, and a lot
Yeah.
of the problems I see coming from AI are kind of already summarized there. So I'm like, how would you slot in like AI slop or AI misconfig or AI leakage, right? Or AI shadow
Bad
AI in
vibes
here.
only.
Yeah, like secure vibe control. Like I don't know where you would slop it in there, but I do feel like maybe some of the like broken access control and maybe crypto failures will broken access control will stay, but crypto failures might get merged into like broken access control or something, and so they can slide in a new category. I also think that they're gonna bring in like they have vulnerable and outdated components. I think that one is going to become more broad because of like the NPM attack vectors we're seeing and things like
Yeah.
that. I think that one is going to become like a massive category of like, a huge thing. It's going to be like talk about certificate pinning and how you should adopt like you should only upgrade after like a week or something to prevent yourself from like days, and just like tons of different little things in there. It's going to become like a third party dependency nightmare for people, especially in my life. I think that'll be interesting. I do think there will be a lot of changes.
I mean, this turned into the OWASP top 10 show, man. I thought you were getting into a segue there, and you were gonna say supply chain attacks are gonna end up in the
No,
list.
no, man. I mean, this is an important thing. Like as we talked earlier, the OS top 10 shapes, I think, every cybersecurity person's day to day, even in the SOC, right? Even though
Fair
you're not
enough.
in
Yeah.
ProdSec, like if you're in operations, you're still worrying about these kind of attack vectors in indirectly or directly, right? Malware that maybe compromises one of these, top 10 and uses that to get its foothold in there. Or you have some kind of cybersecurity incident in ProdSec. Who you going to call? You're calling the
Well, I
SOC.
mean, it, at the like we kind of talked about this earlier in like the first episode. Like, what is ProdSec? ProdSec is the sort of the culmination of all the different disciplines now. Like, it's if you're SecOps or an architect or AppSec, whatever, you're all part of ProdSec these days because there's an architecture, there's an application, there's infrastructure, there's network, there's operational stuff, and then there's incident response. That doesn't go away. It's getting bigger because of products. Everything just came together, smashed it into one thing, and called it product. Like, is it now product security versus enterprise security, or is it all the same thing? Because the enterprise has its own products too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's true. But as we talked in the last podcast, right, that enterprise security is becoming like a solved thing. And, as we were saying, the trend is definitely heading towards prod sec level vulnerabilities. And that's where companies are starting to get popped more because we're getting good at the enterprise side of it. But it's true. I
Yeah.
mean, it's all encompassing, right?
Yeah, the enterprise side, I mean, we've done it for years and years and years, on-prem, hybrid, in the cloud, wherever you want it to be. The borders have come down, and now we're just doing security everywhere, and everyone's building a product, putting it out in the world. It's on the internet. That's your exposure is happening there because gone are the days of the enterprise is the enterprise inside walls and closed doors, and now it's I built a thing, put it on the internet. Everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
Remote work tore down the walls. Like now it's basically everything is a product.
I want to lead into one of the maybe possible categories I was thinking, which is like logging or observability, right? With AI and the proliferation, the proliferation, I can't say it, the expansion of AI.
Proliferation.
There it is. Words are hard.
Yes.
I'm
We're
just talking
security
to.
people, not authors.
Well, I'm just also like excited because I need to calm it down, Cameron. Calm it down.
Too much caffeine.
Yeah, right. The with AI exploding, all the shadow AI is happening, right? Before it was like shadow
Yep.
IT, right? Like shadow IT, shadow this,
Still
shadow that.
happens too.
It still happens 100%, but it's another problem we're solving, right? Where there's a
Yeah.
lot cheaper, easier tools to scan your networks, detect those resources or endpoints that you shouldn't have, right? There's
Yep.
open source. I have a friend who built like his entire open source project, or his project at his company when he got hired, was the first like 3 months was build an open source scan, or like, I would say open source, use open source tools to scan his company's like external foothold and be like, hey, here are all the things that are on our internet that are directly right to our company. There's entire companies that do that themselves, and he built out his
Yeah.
own because they were like, it's
That's
cheaper, it's
crazy.
easier, and it worked and it was cool, right? But that's a problem again that's becoming so solved because there's Medium articles that you can go read where they tell you how to build it all, right? And build out the
Yeah.
infrastructure and do it yourself. That's becoming more and more easier. Whereas AI now, right? I was just reading an article, right? Again, I'm prepping for my students that I'm going to meet with tomorrow, and AI is literally being like forced everywhere. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest problems that we haven't thought about, like a lot of technology usually moves a lot slower, right? Like a new thing comes
Yeah.
out, as cybersecurity professionals, we have usually a year or two to get caught up, right?
Right.
AI, we are like, as fast as AI is moving, cybersecurity is like steps behind. We are trying, right? We don't have the proper
Yeah.
tooling. We don't have the proper frameworks. The OWASP is releasing their own like, maturity framework around AI. Again, still not, I would say, as cutting edge as it needs to be, as well as simplistic that it needs to be. Like it would be really cool if OWASP came out with like a set of like basic policies,
Yeah. I mean,
something
we just went
easy.
through this. Like
Yeah.
you and I literally wrote the standard for where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And I think we're basically everyone's on their own right now doing that. We have, I think ISO came out with ISO 42001, which is the AI governance framework. I started reading it and I was like, this isn't helping me. So like the expertise and the research and all of our conversations around like controls and how do we lower the risk around AI, like that's been way more productive for me than a compliance document. And it's just like it's moving so fast. There's no like well-known pattern yet. But also like in the product space, the number of AI security products that have hit the market in the last 6 to 12 months is absolutely insane. And like
Well, they're all
determining if
using
it's
vibe
snake
coding to
oil or
build it,
oh
right?
god,
The snake
yeah.
oil side of it. That's how I
Yeah.
feel. I'm like, did you build your app through AI, and so it's just a bunch of snake oil underneath the hood? No, not calling anybody out, but that's a question you have to ask yourself because of the proliferation. God, gotta stop using that word. I can't say.
Proliferation. You really want to get that word,
I
man.
really want it. Yeah. With that happening, um, like it comes back to you're saying, right, snake oil, right? But tie it back to my
Yeah.
original thing. I really think there's going to be a category, or I hope there was a category. If I could have 11th category, it would be observability, right? I'm gonna throw that out to my sock team. They're probably like, yes, yes, include logs, observing, because we got to
Yeah.
detect all these things. We got to start being alerted to all the shadow, AI that's happening. That I keep bringing up shadow AI because that's what's happening right now. In 2 months, it could be shadow. I don't
Yeah.
know, some XYZ term, but the only way we can do that is we got to know what we're doing in our environment, right? What's the number one thing you do in every company that you go to? The first thing you usually do is try to document and understand what you have, right? Because
Yeah.
then once you
That's, I mean,
know,
step one. You figure out what you have and what the gaps are, and then go from there.
yep. So
Like that's the recipe to what we do in our various disciplines. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I've talked to our SecOps person and I've talked to others to basically say like, look, we can approach AI a few different ways. And observability and detection, yeah, if you arm yourselves with the ability to pull all of that data in and monitor and do detection, like we always have, that's fine. You find the problem, you go fix it. But the rate at which things are moving so fast, it's like, is detection enough? I want to talk about prevention
Mm,
because I just don't want the bad stuff to happen. But now everyone's going to come at me and be like, well, you're going to wrap us up in security controls. Like, you could do this easily. Set your firewall rules on all of your endpoints to disallow every stinking AI service in the world, and then set up an AI gateway and funnel everything through that. Now you're going to have to re-architect your network and build it, and everyone's going to get pissed off at you because you're hampering innovation, which
yeah,
is not something I want to do. As an engineer, I want to innovate, but I also want to secure it. So what's the happy medium? We just don't know yet.
yeah. It's literally changing. Yeah. So on that kind of product security trends, we have a list here. Which one do you want to jump into outside of those top 10?
Oh man.
You made me pick one,
No,
so I picked those top 10.
there's
You got
just there's so much we could talk about right now.
all right.
Um, trends in product security. How about we do? Let's take the easy one that is just like gained a massive foothold in the world. I'm going to use a term that it's going to make some people cringe, but it's very real, and that's zero trust.
Mm,
It's mainstream. It's what everyone wants to do by default. And frankly, if you're not moving towards it, you're it's kind of like AI. If you're not using it, you're falling behind, right? And so zero trust means a lot of things to a lot of people. And I know there's documents and books and all kinds of stuff that explains it very well. Um, but it's become standard. Like, you should continuously be authenticating and
well,
checking authorization
can you
on
define zero trust for everyone? We gotta make sure we define these things. This is something we gotta get better at. Is just
it's
defining these things as much as possible.
zero trust. Like, it's kind of in the name, right? Of, you trust nothing, so you assume everything is an untrusted device or entity. And what that means is now you have to continuously authenticate and authorize to make sure, is this resource allowed to access what it's trying to access? And if not, like, you have all these policies built out that define that, whether it's through gateways or whatever. Like, Zscaler is one of the top solutions in this space. um, but you're dynamically kind of evaluating this every step of the way. And at some point, you might say, well, this person authenticated 30 minutes ago. I'm going to check again. Are they actually authorized to still be accessing this resource? Because if not, well, maybe they got fired or did something. I don't know. They just got their access removed. Kick them out. That's
Yeah,
it
but
in a nutshell.
we've been talking about zero trust in the industry, right? If you're a cybersecurity industry person in the background, we've been talking about this for what, like 10 years, right? Why is
Something like that.
this? Why is it still a trend? Why isn't it heading more towards a solved solution?
Hard. You're literally taking well-established environments and re-architecting them. That's why they call it a zero trust architecture. It's hard, but at the end of the day, once you get rolling, you can take off bite-sized pieces and eventually get there. Um, you're retrofitting an organization, which the bigger it is, the harder it is to do, and you have to break it down into smaller entities to drive towards that. Now, if you're a brand new company, you're at an advantage because you get to start there, start from
Mm,
the beginning.
yeah,
So I think it's like, we've seen the government even say like zero trust is a requirement and all of these things. So it's like, if the government's adopted it and you haven't, you're really far behind.
true, true. I mean, it's definitely something we've needed to do. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we've done it at least in the enterprise side of the house where
Yeah,
we're currently at, and that's why I always get annoyed by how many times I have to log back into stuff, because it's like, you didn't access this yet this week, so go type in your credentials and your 24 character password, and then do your MFA, and you're good, right? Like, it's
24
annoying, but it's
character.
it's good. Yeah,
I have to reset my password when I get back to work next week, and I think I'm at like, I don't know, over 30 plus characters. Like almost,
damn,
I'm probably hitting 40.
I'm falling behind, man. I can't remember that many letters or
Anyways,
symbols,
we'll get
numbers.
into it, but
Password manager.
we could have a whole thing. I wish, because you can't use that one for a password manager. You have to, but it's all about phrases, combinations, certain subtle changes, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a
I
good
have a
time.
recipe.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
probably got an exclamation at the end.
it's got a few.
Fair enough.
Not all
Uh,
at the end. They're
yeah.
mixed in.
One topic I wanted to talk about to pivot is around secret managements, right?
Oh,
Uh,
that one's special to me too.
right? Like that one, I was thinking also to throw it back to OS Top 10. I'm wondering if there'll be a secrets category because we're seeing all kinds of secret related attack vectors. Like TJ actions was a secret related
Yeah.
attack, but it's
Well, there's secrets
definitely
being harvested, like what's the one that just happened? The supply, I can't think of the name of it. The Shai Halud
yeah, Shai Hulud, yeah,
was literally harvesting secrets and then compromising things and getting more secrets and
yep,
just propagating like a worm, like one of
yep.
the oldest tricks in the book.
Right, right. It's and yeah, you're constantly talking about. I was talking to my friend who does consulting, right? Oh, and secrets. So secrets are credentials, and credentials are like username and password. Sometimes it's whatever you use to log into a
API
system.
keys, tokens, etc.
Yeah, yeah. It's just anything you use to log into something you use to as an identifier or as a authenticator to log in.
Social security numbers.
Yeah, those are yeah, true. But I was talking to him, and he's like, dude, like I'm still dealing with, 'cause he is consulting with companies where they use the same secret in product or in pre-prod in
Oh
production.
no, giving me heartburn right now.
I know, like literally the same. And he's like, we got in there. I was like, we nailed this contract with this big customer, and then we got in there, and the first thing we always do is start looking at their secrets. We jumped into their pipeline, dumped their environment file, took those creds, tried to use them in prod, boom, all of them lit up, and we were like,
Oh
what are you guys
man,
doing here? And they're like, what do you mean, how do we securely pass these secrets? And it's like, oh my gosh, secret managers, this is a well done,
no.
design problem. You don't use the same credentials, secrets, whatever in pre-prod, right, where everyone has access to it, right? And everyone always thinks that like, oh, if I put it in, GitHub or Git Labs, like,
Oh
your
no.
pipeline, that it's secure. And I'm like, it's really not. It's really, really not. They're usually stored in plain text because they have to be used, so they have to be
Right.
decrypted. And even if I try to encrypt it there, it's not like I can. The only real secure way you can do this is building what, like an ephemeral cred that reaches out to a secret manager that generates it on
Yeah.
its own and then spits it in there. And then
Temporary
yeah,
tokens.
temporary tokens that maybe expire within, I don't know, an hour or two, or that'd be pretty
Yeah.
crazy long, but like something along those lines, right? Something that has a short life to where if you do get compromised, the compromise is only within a short duration, which, he was like, dude, these were essentially forever credentials. They don't change
God.
them. And he's like, dude, they're in prod. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Like all hands on deck, rotate that sucker now
Right, right.
and watch how many pipelines break.
Hmm. How many things on your app will break? Because but that's the exact point, right? Why would a company go do that? Because as you're saying, right, it's hard to have two separate environments that are managed two separate ways and have predictability, right? I see so many articles. I was just watching something that was like, a title was like, testing in prod with AI because you really can't test otherwise, right? Like, does anybody actually have a valid pre-prod environment?
I mean, it depends on the maturity of your organization. I have seen them. I've worked with them, and it always breaks down somewhere or gets overly complicated because you're like, well, how do we gate engineers from pushing to prod, because separation of duties is real and you want separation of dev and prod, and there's usually dev test prod QA, like a million different environments, and you got to manage them all, and you got to have a stage environment that mirrors production so that when things get to production they don't break and it's all hands on deck. Like, why the hell doesn't our software release work when it's
Hmm.
supposed to? And it's like you got to manage secrets for all of that and keep them separate, because leaked secrets, leaked credentials in the world today, like that's like phishing, man. If you can get a leaked secret out of GitHub, like have fun. You're going to go poke at AWS and hijack a system or spin up your own resource or have all kinds of fun. And that's why
Yeah.
there's tools for that too. I think we even use one.
Yep. It's definitely an interesting problem to have, right?
It's crazy, but I mean, they're called secrets for a reason because they're the keys. Like, you don't walk around handing people your car key and be like, "Check this out," and just walk away.
It's true. It's true.
You
All
know,
right.
it always comes back to like doors and stuff and keys. It's an easy analogy.
One of these podcasts will not have that analogy one of these days. All
All
right, one
right,
thing
we're
I
gonna
wanted
make this a challenge. Next one, no doors and
no
keys.
doors and keys. I want to ask you this one. Do you see a change in the landscape around cloud versus on-prem? Are companies, because I'm reading a lot of articles saying that companies are shifting away from a cloud first mentality and moving towards a hybrid cloud mentality. From your experience research, why do you think that's happening?
Cost.
Yeah.
I think all of the stories where I've seen companies take this seriously, they're like, we went to the cloud, we wanted the flexibility, we don't have to manage the infrastructure, et cetera. And they're like, I'm spending 3 times what I had to before. Whereas if I just get a data center and rack the equipment and have to update it every 4 to 5 years, if I spend $1 million on equipment and pay some people to manage it and build out the automation to do whatever it's got to do, versus multiple millions to just have everything in AWS, where frankly it's more exposed, right? Because now I'm relying on third parties and managing things kind of differently. So it's a matter of preference. If you have the budget and you want to use the cloud because you don't want to deal with data centers and the rest of it, I mean, more power to you. Um, I think it's not happening. See, now I'm excited. It's not happening as often. Like you'll see one story blow up, like, oh, this company went from full cloud to full on-prem again because of cost and all these wonderful things. I'm like, that's great that it worked for them that way. Now take a massive environment that's thousands of cloud accounts and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of systems and all the resources that support them in AWS, or God forbid it's multi-cloud. Put that in a data center and watch how long it takes. You're going to
True.
spend more money migrating than you are if you just live in the cloud.
True. But how does, from a security perspective, what is that affecting us, right? Because is security able to stay on the cutting edge and be able to maintain that hybrid approach?
I think we're seeing more of this happen with the tooling that we all leverage. Like it's all largely geared towards cloud for the most part, but also on-prem solutions or endpoint solutions are a perfect example, right? Like classically, you put it on your laptops, you put it on your servers, you monitor for malware and bad stuff happening everywhere. And then the cloud came along and you're like, it's the same construct, it's just in the cloud. So go install it there. You could put it anywhere. Now you're seeing that with the agents from the big CSPM and CNAP players. You're seeing it with, like, I even talked to a company about their new latest and greatest AI based DLP. Has an
Yeah.
agent deployed any. I asked the guy, I was like, can I literally deploy this on any system, whether it's a laptop or a server in the cloud or a server on prem? And he's like, it does it all. I was like, cool, man. Show it to me. Prove it.
Yeah, but
It
when
works.
we're entering agents, proliferation, right? Where
Yeah.
we're gonna install every system's gonna have 40 agents, and then from a security side, right, we're gonna have to debug problems around
It's
50 different
all about
agents,
balance.
right? You're gonna
Balance,
get
man.
cloud ops and IT messaging you, being like, "Hey, this thing's taking down our server because it's eating, 100% of our CPU."
How do you do it without an agent then?
I don't know.
There was a trend probably, I don't know, 5 to 7 years ago that was like, no more agents,
Yeah.
agentless everything. And then it's like, well, now I don't have the control over everything that I want. And I can't
True.
prevent stuff from happening. I can only detect it. And I just kind of, I touched on this earlier of like, I care more about preventing things today than I do detecting and addressing them, because things happen faster, they happen more often. Security teams are stretched thin. Operations can't respond to 100 incidents a day. Like, come on now. So it's balance. Everything we do is about balance. So that trend went out the door. Now we're kind of seeing agents come back to life,
So true.
almost too much. And so it's like we're going through cycles as an industry. This is the circle of life, man. It's the circle of cybersecurity life.
True. Just like how fashion, this comes back to my wife telling me all the time, fashion like goes in cycles, right? They're slightly updated. I think if I asked her, we're in the 90s phase. I don't know if you're noticing that, but
Yeah,
like I go skating, roller skating, every Thursday, and people are starting to bring out, I think it's like what, bell bottom jeans, right? Like the big
yeah.
bottom part, like those things are coming, and suspend or not suspenders, overalls.
Overalls.
Overalls, dude. I've seen so many more people with overalls, and I was like, When did, like, what? It's back?
Not my
Everyone's
thing.
in? Not my thing either. I've been tempted though. I'm like, "Well, is it? Is it?" But, it's
Right.
that we have those cycles that kinda go through. Everyone was like, "Agentless is gonna be this greatest thing ever." And then everyone realized there's so many problems that are have
Yeah.
within an agent, right? There's a lot of pros. I think there's a spot for agentless, sections, but at certain points, you gotta have that. You gotta have an agent. The only way you can do it, and a root
Yeah.
level, admin level agent running on your system to, if stuff bad happens, you're able to stop it.
Well, so I have nothing to debate that with. I mean,
Fair enough.
we're trending back towards agents, and like I said, I think it's always about balance, and we see these shifts, and it's because it's the needle's moving left, it's moving right, it's in the middle. Like we're always trying to strike that latest and greatest balance because technology in the industry is changing so quickly, and there's always a new deployment pattern or a new thing, and it's latest and greatest. And right now it's AI, of course. Like you want to talk about a trend.
Yep.
um, I think we've already kind of beaten up AI a bunch, and we don't have to go there again, but we
True.
can.
No, no, no. All right, we're gonna go into lightning round. All right, we've got to wrap this
Oh
thing up soon.
no.
And we're just gonna just spitball and talk and just try to get our thoughts and go from topic to topic as fast as possible. So the first one I
Topic
kind of
to
want to
topic.
jump into is security as a service. I would say anything as a service that is exploding right now, right? I would say we're seeing like AI driven SOC, right? Rather than having an in-house SOC anymore,
Yeah.
everyone's just like, you can have an AI SOC where you come to us and the AI does like 90% of the effort, and then you have like a 5 by, or a 3 by or 7 by 7 or 24, right? 3 people by 24 hours. They're actually
Yeah.
humans who are analyzing that, and then we'll take action, and maybe you still have a SOC, but you have a reduced SOC that is, again, 3 by 5 instead of having to deploy like 5 by 5 by 3, which I keep saying all these numbers. It's number of people, hour shifts, so you get full 24-hour coverage, right? That's exploding like crazy right now with AI. I mean, like, is that trend going to continue? Do you think that'll continue, or will it switch to where now we're empowering our AI, our SOC, rather than doing that? Right? You're building some kind of technology, you buy a vendor, and they just help you reduce that noise. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I have strong feelings about that because I've looked at some of these solutions along with our SecOps team, and it's really interesting because at the end of the day, like SecOps spends so much time chasing things, and a lot of times they start chasing ghosts, and it's like
Yeah.
you get to the end, and you're like, "This is a false positive. Like I just wasted 3 hours of my life." You could have AI do a lot of the heavy lifting there, and now it goes from like 3 hours to 20 minutes. Great, move on to the next thing. Or if it can even get so far as determining, hey, I think it's a false positive, human in the loop, confirm it, move on. So I think the augmentation certainly makes sense. Will we ever have a fully AI driven SOC? I don't think so, because you still need eyes on making decisions. Technology is only as good as the people who built it. So I don't think we're ever going to remove the human. Um, and I don't think we need a SOC army of 25 analysts looking at stuff either. So can we lower the number of analysts? Yeah, theoretically. I'm not a big advocate for AI taking jobs. I'm a big advocate for augmenting things with AI to free up time, make things easier. And now your SOC people can go build newer and better stuff and just keep enhancing. Continuous improvement is huge in the world live in. So you got to constantly do it, and AI and the SOC enables that.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I was an analyst. One of my things I had to do EDR, and like at a certain point you get tired of looking at results because like, it looks like it's a giant fire and I'm ready to pull the trigger and be like, hey, it's incident time. And then you start diving into it, and as you said, 3 hours later you're like, ugh, it was literally nothing.
Like
So
I got to
many times
walk
that
away.
happens. Yeah, and as a human being, right, just human psychology, and as a human being, you can't keep that cycle up without getting
Oh,
jaded or frustrated or dismissive or not as reactionary as you're supposed to. And sock people, you can't let that creep into your brain. That's why I
yeah.
could never be a sock person. I did it for a little while and was like, yeah, I got to do something else. Because you
Yeah.
just, I don't know, like, kudos to
It
them.
chips away at your resilience. I mean, the people that work in the SOC for a very long time or just work their entire career there, like these are some of the most resilient people you will ever meet
Hmm.
because they just deal with the constant crap or they invest so much time in something and it ends up being nothing, and you're like, you feel like me personally, if I did that, I'd feel defeated. I'd be like, what the hell am I doing this for? You
Yep.
do it 10 times and you're like, I need something else to do.
True that. All right, next topic, platform consolidation. All right. So we're seeing so many vendors just buying other vendors, right? And putting them in there, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Do you think that someday it's just going to be like, hey, I'm going to go, like, we have this vendor and they do everything?
I mean, they're gonna try. I mean, you see, this is big. This is with the big ones, right? Like Palo
Yep.
Alto is notorious for this. CrowdStrike's been doing it. These are the biggest names in security, and we're seeing more acquisitions at smaller scale too, so that
I mean,
companies can grow that
Sneak's buying
portfolio.
like a company every like 3 months.
Well, and
Wiz is too,
again,
right?
like they devour these companies, they get bigger and they improve their capabilities. They create that platform because vendor fatigue and tool fatigue is very real. Like, why do you talk about agent fatigue? Why should I install 5 agents if I can install 1 and do everything? And now people are gonna come at me and be like, "But you're not getting the best of breed, and
Best of
it's
breed.
not good at
Was gonna
doing
say it.
everything."
I
And I'm
was
like,
ready.
best of breed is cool and all, but it's very niche. Like, if you wanna be truly great at that one thing, I applaud you. There is a place for you in this world. Big, nasty enterprises, which is a lot of big businesses today, like they can't deploy and manage 20 different tools. And that's the reality, is that's what they're doing. And so if you can consolidate into a platform and it does everything just good enough and it does a few things really well, I think that's a win. And I mean, you can optimize your costs with that too, because when you buy 20 different tools, you got to manage all of those different contracts, and costs go up year to year. And creates its own sort of chaos, which, I mean, it's a space we operate in, is chaos. I like to
Yep.
create it. I like to wrangle it. Um, I'm a believer in platformization. I will come out and say that. I've worked with both of those big companies I just named, and I think they each have things they do well and things they don't do so well, but they're good at acquiring and kind of building these new platforms that are taking a big foothold in the industry, and I think it makes sense. Now, I will say I understand the other side of this is there is risk to using a single vendor for everything, because
You
if
can get
that goes
boxed
down,
in.
what do you do?
Yep. Yep.
And how do
True.
you rip out and replace? Like,
Yep.
if it's one agent, fine, rip it out, replace it. It's going to take time, but it's doable. But the second that they have an outage, you're exposed.
Yep. And
So
depending on
if
the
you
vendor,
go,
it could be massive risk there.
yeah. So like if you go platform, do you have to have now? Do you still have to have 20 vendors because you have to have a backup plan?
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't know. I don't have the answer.
from the AppSec side, I'm in this great debate already. I've been a long time, right? It's not as cut and dry as like someone like, CrowdStrike, right? Or Palo Alto.
Yeah,
That one I feel is a little more, you can wiggle. The cons are a little
yeah,
less. But in the AppSec space, you, as we're saying, Sneak, all these other vendors are buying up other vendors. Their tools feel drastically different. So you could go for a platform like a major platform like Veracode or Sneak or Black Duck, where they have all these different tools underneath the hood. But what did we say? They're all acquisitions. How
yeah,
good are they? Usually, what I see is their original tool is like 5 years ahead of whatever acquisition. And so you're buying a best in breed in one category and horrible in
yeah,
another, right? And in an AppSec world, that is huge because that affects your devs, that affects your AppSec team, and it affects your
yeah.
security posture. At that point,
It's
what's the
very
point?
front and center.
Yeah, the difference is very evident there. To where I believe, as an AppSec team, you should not be buying platforms. You should only go for a platform if it's good and makes sense. And it depends on your company, right? If you're a front end language, you probably will be fine within a platform, but if you have some low level code like C, C++, that's where you might want to consider having different vendors so you have different or
Yeah,
better coverage in the things that you need. I think in the AppSec space, I think a lot of people are heading in that opposite direction, especially with the everybody getting what an ASPM platform is, right? Originally, ASPM platforms used to be just a dashboard that collects all your tools. I know Gartner has changed that category. It also includes scanning now, but originally that's what it was. But every vendor I'm talking to, everybody's buying and building ASPM platforms. You're like, Wiz has got an ASPM platform.
Yeah.
Or I think or Palo Alto's got their own
Palos
now.
got one now.
Yeah, they got one now. There's Armor Code that already has Defect Dojo, which are just default ones, but
Yeah.
Nucleus has one, and then I just heard that Invicti, they have their
Wow.
own one. They acquired one, and they have one. The Zscaler, I think they have their own one. Like everybody's building these ASPM platforms, which means there's highly competitive, so you can get a great price, and now you have that central dashboard that everybody loves, right? I think one of the big reasons as we're saying here, you purchase
Yeah.
one tool is that it's one place. Hook everything into
Integrated.
one tool, integrate it all into one tool. Boom, you got your sweet dashboard. Your AppSec team are now the only ones that have to go to these other tools and deal with it. Boom. Now you have good tools while the single pane of glass. Sure, it's more work. Sure, you still have to deal with multiple contracts. I mean, I would tell anybody who struggles with contracts, level up your game. That's part of life. That's
Seems like we're part lawyers sometimes.
I mean, you have to be. I'm getting better and better at contracts. I keep looking at them and all
Yeah.
the time, but I always need a second eye because I don't spot a certain clause in there. I'm so glad that I have lawyers so that they can look at that, and procurement who argue with them and see this day out
Yeah.
and day out. They spot the little like, hey, how this is phrased has this implication, and I'm like, oh my gosh, didn't know that. Glad I have you here.
Yep. Lawyers are very necessary.
True.
The language that these things are written in are crazy, but that it's an interesting take because like you could see I'm operating more at the infrastructure level and the platform makes sense there. Whereas what you're saying about AppSec, like that's really good insight as a sort of someone on the outer perimeter of AppSec, and it makes a lot of sense. Like it always depends on your use cases, and so you should always be adapting to the situation, not trying to kind of force everything into a platform where it doesn't make sense, because then you're just going to hurt yourself.
Yep. All right, last lightning round. I'm gonna pick one. This one keeps jumping out in my eyes. Secure by design, right?
I was just gonna say it, Cameron.
Perfect.
I haven't picked one, but that was the one I was gonna pick.
Perfect. All right. Secure by design. Tell us what it is. What's your hot take on it? Tell us?
What's my hot take? I
I don't
mean,
know.
secure by
It doesn't have to be.
design
It
is
could
a
be a cold
wonderful
take.
thing.
Could be a cold take.
It's secure by design. This is
Lukewarm.
there might be a hot take buried in this, but this is kind of like this is part of the shift left movement, right? Of you need to design security in from the beginning. Everything people go back to the classic waterfall, or you could do agile, whatever. There's a design phase inside of every stinking methodology you take or apply when you're building products or software, whatever you want to call it. Design is always one of those phases. So you should be doing security at that point. Start with security, end with security, do security all throughout. Security is everyone's responsibility. And so the hot take for me is stop doing security at the end. I see it too much. I'm sick of it. And I'm tired of trying to retrofit everything because it costs way more to do it at the end than if you would have just started with it and included someone that can help you with that. Like security people aren't here to get in the way. We're here to help. So just give us a call and say, hey, I'm building a new thing. I want your help to make sure it's secure and that we can launch on time.
It's a perfect way to wrap up the
I could
podcast.
keep going, but
No,
I'll turn
no,
it over to you.
no. I mean, I think you said everything I want to say. The only other thing is, I could be a devil's advocate and throw it a different way, which is sometimes you don't have a security team, right? A lot of startups start without security. You got to get to market. But I
Yeah.
think what the point of what you're saying is, even then, you should still be thinking about security in the startup. You should still have some levels of implications, and at a certain point, you're gonna have to, to be taken seriously. Think about security and build in security and
Yep.
design securely.
You cannot sell a product in the world today to a major corporation or the business in general without being asked about security.
Yep. You'll always have to go through some kind of risk assessment. They'll tear you apart. Me and you have been through many MMAs and gone through
Yep.
that. We get called in, we look through everything, put our findings together, and it's always an interesting time.
Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't. You can always tell when security was a consideration versus when it wasn't.
Yep. Yep. All righty, Kurt. Wrap us up.
Oh man, I thought I just did. I had a great little rant there to say, do it,
Oh,
security
you're
every
done?
step of the way. It's like you're causing chaos in my brain right now. I don't know what to say.
Well,
My coffee is almost gone,
my
so that
coffee's
means
gone.
that I'm out of gas.
Yeah. Well,
Toast.
it's a good
It's
time.
always a pleasure.
I think we had a great conversation. I mean, the OS top
It was
10, we could
fun.
probably have a whole category. We're gonna have one when it finally releases. We're gonna tear that apart.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do it. That's exciting. I get excited for these every week now. Like I
Yeah.
said, I came into this like 5 minutes before and I was just like, I'm ready. I'm going to go talk to my buddy Cameron about security. I'm going to create some chaos. My internet's going to get cut off in the middle of the freaking episode. That was fun. But
Yep.
hey, it's faster now.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us for another wonderful edition of Coffee Chaos and ProdSec.
Thanks, Kurt. All right. Hit
Hit the
subscribe.
button,
You gotta hit it. You gotta always tell them that.
smash the button, subscribe, like it, do whatever the button says.
We release every week on Friday, or at least I try to. So it's either Friday or Saturday. It depends on my schedule and how much editing and all that takes. So, but yeah, thanks for listening. Take care.